my name's Tracey Bailey. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Gatehouse Bank, and we're based in London, Milton Keynes and Wilmslow, and we are a Sharia principled finance provider in the UK. Well, I think it's been particularly challenging for women during the pandemic. It's been a complete shift in culture for a lot of women in terms of balancing employer demands versus home demands. Clearly, back in March 2020 in the UK, the message from the government was stay at home and work from home if you could, which meant that, suddenly not just women, but men and women found themselves in a position where they were having to balance different needs in the home environment whilst at the same time supporting a job. But I think for a woman that's probably been slightly more demanding, because generally women are the bigger caregivers for children. So as the children were actually forced out of school, then we also needed to become school teachers, head teachers, dinner ladies, and whatever else role we needed to perform whilst at the same time doing roles themselves. And I think that's been really apparent in financial services. We've seen a higher rate in women in attrition from financial services as a result, I think, of the pandemic, because it's been harder for people to increase their work capacity as their caring responsibilities increased as well. So I do think there's been a number of challenges that have been presented for both men and women, but particularly for women, as I said, because in the main they are the priority sort of caregivers and child jugglers, if you like. I mean, clearly during the pandemic, we've seen a massive increase in the use of automation trends and digitalisation opportunities. I think for women, given the ability to now work more remotely is becoming an essential part of that flexibility that women need to be able to progress careers. Clearly, I think a lot of women lost opportunities for career progression during the pandemic because of the situation we all found ourselves in. And I think using technology, employers should really consider, location and non-specific location opportunities for people, so that people that can continue to enjoy the flexibility that they've had during the pandemic will continue to grow the career. So I think the technology piece is really important moving forwards. I for one work far more at home than I've ever done in the past, which has given me an increased flexibility to be able to do other things with the family, get a better work-life balance that I might not have had in the past. I think from my personal perspective, it was quite stressful at the time. It was difficult to adapt to the whole stay-at-home routine, as well as entertain children, feed them, make sure that I was helping them through schoolwork and homework. And quite often for myself, it felt quite like I was neglecting all areas of my life, both work and both home, because trying to balance the two things were quite difficult. And in the end, the way I managed it was I started to remind myself that actually I was getting through a pandemic and staying at home while still trying to work, and not the other way around. And I think that actually helped my mindset navigate through all the things I had to at that time. Life balance. Well, I wasn't very good at it when I was younger. When my children were much younger, I'm probably able to say that I pretty much outsourced my children's upbringing, and I was very lucky to have good parents-in-law and support that helped me do that. But now, as I've sort of reflected and got older, I've realised that I can actually work much smarter now. So I don't necessarily work harder, I just look at how I work and make sure that I work much smartly during the day to make sure that I do get a better work-life balance. I think the other thing that you need to be unafraid to say is no. So don't take on any more than you can cope with, because it's very easy when you're building a career to continually say yes, and then you struggle yourself from a burnout perspective. And you don't need to say yes all the time, because one thing that I've learned in my past is I'm a bit of a perfectionist, but you don't always have to perfect everything to grow your career. Sometimes just doing a good enough job is good, and you can just move on. And then finally, I think the last thing for me to say is, just make sure that you give yourself time and don't expect to be seen to be working extra long hours just because that looks like a career path. You should be valued and be mindful that what you offer in your hours of work and doing a good performance is enough. You don't have to be seen to be doing the right thing. So I'd say they were my main tips, really.